Welcome to Reshair on ESPN 730. For the next hour, your host, Chris Reshair, will bring fresh air to your financial needs. Excite, educate, and empower you to make sound financial decisions. Chris is a seasoned licensed mortgage consultant with NFM Lending. Originator license number 117266. Now, here's your host, Chris Reshair.
Welcome to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshair, licensed loan officer with NFM Lending. Just wanted to say, if you didn't know, NFM Lending is actually an equal housing lender, and my license number is 117266. Got to get that stuff out of the way. But the goal of the show each and every week is to educate, excite, and empower Charlotteans to make sound financial decisions. And we do that each and every week by bringing in expert contributors that talk about areas or topics related to your finance, home, insurance, whatever it might be. We also bring in area special guests. Could be a local realtor, a local mortgage professional, could be all kinds of different people. But regardless, each and every week we've got a show packed full of special guests and expert contributors on hot topics. So we're going to jump right in and make sure we have an opportunity to invite, or welcome, I should say, our guests on the show today. So first of all, foremost, we want to welcome back our expert contributor, Preston Sandlin from Home Inspection Carolina. Preston's in the house. Welcome back, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chris. Appreciate it.
Glad to have you here. So, Preston, before we jump into introducing our guests, I'd like our listeners to hear maybe a couple minutes from you, a little bit about who you are, what your business does. I know it does all kinds of different things related to home inspection, but why don't you give us your version?
Sure. Well, I own Home Inspection Carolina. We do home inspections, termite inspections, radon testing. If you're, in the market for, buying or selling a house, I think sometimes it's smart to do the inspection
absolutely, when
you sell it, so that if there are any problems with it, you can find out ahead of time and make those arrangements, either adjustment on the price or get multiple estimates, get those things fixed, so you don't have problems on the back end. But we're here to help protect most people's largest investment, and also when you sell, so you don't get blindsided. So we're here to help, and we'd love to help you. So give us a call.
Perfect. So this is a perfect time to also, why don't you just share your number and a way to contact you in case there is anybody throughout the show, they can have your information.
Yeah, sure. Well, our number is 704-542-6575, 704-542-6575.
6575, that's right.
And we have two websites, homeinspectioncarolina.com or askthecharlotteinspector.com, which is kind of more of a blog, sort of home maintenance stuff, which is kind of what I was going to talk about today. But one of my guests here said, no more honey-do list. My wife's giving me too much work, so we'll see about that.
That would be Mike Troche over there, who's not even paying attention. You should be laughing.
There's stuff going on that I've got to address.
He gave me the stink eye early. No more honey-do list, man.
That's right.
Take care of the flat tire, Preston.
Very good. So, well, as always, Preston, we appreciate you being part of the show. And if you do have any home inspection needs, please give Preston and his team a call at 704-542-6575. All right, so let's jump in and introduce our guest. Our first special guest we have in the studio today, first time in the studio, is Mike Perlosky with eXp Realty.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me today.
Mike's in the house.
I'm in the house.
We're going to call you Mike today, so excited to have you here. First time on radio, is that right?
What's that?
First time on radio?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Yep. All right, not the last.
I'm sweating a little bit.
That's right. So, Mike, I know that you've got several years of real estate experience, but you've got all kinds of crazy experience related to the industry. I'd love for you to take a minute to tell us a little bit about some of your credentials and some of the things that maybe you've done in the past and how you got started in this business.
Right, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me on today, Chris. I really appreciate the opportunity, number one. But just to kind of, touch on that, my love for real estate started when I was, probably about, 8, 9, 10 years old. My dad had some rental properties back in Ohio, and I always tagged along, and I think I was pretty much free labor. And,
there's child labor laws now, but they probably didn't have them back then.
Go pick this up, go pick that up.
Shovel that out. Right, yeah.
Yeah, that too. We won't talk about that here.
My dad was a custom builder myself, so yes, I remember. Mix that cement. Like, really?
So that's basically where my love for real estate started, but, fast forward to my adult years. 2001 started in the mortgage industry with Wells Fargo. was been in the mortgage industry since beginning of 2018 here, multiple roles with multiple Fortune 500 companies.
But it looks like you spent quite a bit of time as an underwriter, which is really a decision maker on a loan.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was underwriting for a number of years. Also dealt with short sales, foreclosures, loan
That gives you an
modifications.
advantage as an agent. You
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know when guys like my friend Mike over here are trying to
Mike Troche.
Mike Troche, give me some business. So yeah, so it definitely helps, try to help to ease the mind of, my clients when they, don't know what's really going on with their loans. I can definitely help my lending partners. So
That's really, it's so cool. It's not often that as a loan officer, and Mike Troche, the loan officer here in the studio with us, and I can say, it's not very often that you get to work with a realtor that's got a lot of mortgage experience, and there would be a lot of comfort, at least from my perspective, to know that, hey, everybody, they understand, right? Because oftentimes a realtor doesn't really quite fully understand some of the magnitude of things that we have to ask customers to do, and neither does the client themselves.
Yeah, first time I bought a house, I never knew what's going on with my loan. What's going, and the realtor, they were a good realtor, but they had no knowledge of. It was like some secretive stuff that went on in the back room that nobody knew about. Like, am I going to be okay? Yeah, it'd be great if the realtor.
Mike could have been your underwriter. I don't know.
Yeah, could have been. Were you mixing potions back there, Mike?
did I decline the loan?
No, they finally gave it to me. They did come out with a couple days before. We need your W-2 from 4 years ago at this job. I'm like, what?
I think the problem was, Preston, you did your own home inspection. I think
that's probably
where the problem came.
Dang, home
non-arm's length transaction. Very good. All right, so let's flip the mic over to Mike Troche. We're going to probably call him Troche from here on out since we have two mics in the studio. Mike Troche, loan officer here with NFM Lending on Team Reshatar. Mike, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
So tell me, I want you to share your story on how you got into mortgage, because I think it's just fascinating. It's a story of bread.
It's a story of bread, figuratively and literally. So in New York, I was a licensed stockbroker and investment consultant. Did that for about 10 years before I moved down to Charlotte.
We call that selling the dough.
That's where we were selling. So we were selling the dough. And then when I came to Charlotte, I was kind of needed a break, needed a change of pace, and I bought a business. I bought a bread distribution company, which was a good business. It was just difficult early hours, but it was my own business, my own boss. It was a good time, and that is where we were delivering the bread.
That was when you were delivering bread.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Selling the bread, delivering.
Selling and delivering.
And then.
I was kind of getting tired of that. We've got small kids. It's tough when you're up and out at 2 a.m. in the morning, so on and so forth. And I was missing the financial aspect of helping people because, let's be honest, you're not changing the world putting a bagel on the shelf. You're really not changing anyone's life, except maybe when they call for snow down here.
Right.
And I ended up doing a refinance with a mortgage company and thought, okay, it went smooth, and it got me thinking, like, this might be a good other option. It's still numbers related, financially related. I'm helping people, but don't have to necessarily deal with the stock market so much. And the rest is kind of history. From there, then I went to lending the bread. So
that's right.
It's all about the bread.
That's right. When he retires, he said he wants to be making the bread. So I'm not sure if that's baking it or counterfeiting. I don't know. It could be one or two.
I can't bake anything, so hopefully I'll learn, because the second is not a good choice.
That's right. Well, Michael, welcome back. It's always good to have you. You've been a rising star in our team here at NFM Lending as a new loan officer, and you've been amazing. So kudos to you. So let's turn the mic back over to Mike Perlosky here. So tell me, what do you like most about being a realtor?
Well, I obviously love real estate. In addition to my mortgage background, my wife and I started investing in real estate back in Ohio in about 2005. So we bought about 15 properties. So, it definitely kept us busy, especially on the weekends, because we had full-time jobs as well. So, but in addition to real estate, I really love and really enjoy helping people. So it's definitely, a passion of mine, and the two just definitely mix together well.
Sweet. Awesome. All right. So last question for you before we sort of roll into our theme here in a few minutes. Why don't you take a minute just to describe the housing market, in the Charlotte area? We've got a couple of minutes.
Well, like my friend Mike Troche would say over here, my Latin-speaking friend, it's en fuego. It's pretty. It's hot, on fire, caliente. Whatever you want to call it. It's hot right now. Obviously, just to throw out a few numbers, Chris. In this, keep in mind, this is the entire Charlotte MLS. We only have about 2.6 months of supply left if nothing else came on the market. So we'd have about 2.5 months.
Which normal is anything between 3 and 6.
Exactly. 6, they say, is a balanced market. So obviously we are below balanced.
Right.
The median price in Charlotte, $244,900, which is up 7.4% from the previous year. And actually from 2016 to 2017, it was up, it increased 10.9%. Wow. So you can kind of see the trajectory that we are on here in Charlotte. But there are 14,000 homes for sale. So if anyone wants to buy one, give me a call.
That's right.
If anyone wants to inspect one, give me a call.
That's right.
And the bread man's over here to the left.
That's right. Got
the whole package right here.
Well, cool. So, Mike, real quick, where would they be able to reach you if somebody had some questions about real estate, maybe want to buy or sell and work with you?
Easiest place to reach me is on my cell phone. That's 704-771-0130. You can call me, text me, whatever's easier for you.
Perfect. So we're going to take a quick break. Again, you're listening to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshatar with NFM Lending. And as always, if you have any questions about what our topics are and you need to get a hold of me or anyone on the panel here today, my number is 704-277-4463. Again, we're here to excite, empower, educate Charlotteans. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Chris Reshatar, host of Reshair Radio and loan officer with NFM Lending. Is home buying in your future? Buying a home is one of the most significant financial decisions you will make in your life. Each step in the process is important to ensure a smooth transaction. But the most important step, even before you look at houses or call a realtor, is to get pre-approved. A pre-approval is when a lender evaluates a loan applicant's eligibility for a home loan. The loan officer collects information such as their employment, income, assets, and current expenses. The lender then gives the applicant an idea as to whether or not they could afford a home loan or an approximate amount of loan they could qualify for. If you're looking for platinum level service and open communication through the loan process, call me, Chris Reshatar, at 704-277-4463. That is 704-277-4463. LO license number 117266, corporate license number 2893. Go to nfmlending.com for licensing information, or you can apply online today at themortgagegenius.com.
Did you know it has been reported that an estimated 80% of Americans have credit inaccuracies on their credit reports? Most people that have either inaccuracies or existing items that can be negotiated or adjusted do not know what their best score could be until they have found a new home, or buying a new car, or applying for a credit card. Then it's too late, and they have to accept a higher interest rate or lose the opportunity altogether. The time to work on improving your credit score is before you need it. Whether you have a 440, 640, or even a 740 FICO score, there is always room for improvement. The National Credit Care Team is comprised of individuals dedicated to helping the millions of consumers plagued by credit inaccuracies, errors, and fraud. It is our mission to help inform consumers and alleviate the stress of working with creditors and credit bureaus. Together, we can maximize your scores to get the best interest rates possible and save you money. Call now, 303-747-6390. That's 303-747-6390. Or visit us at www.nationalcreditcare.com.
Welcome back to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshatar, licensed loan officer with NFM Lending. Please be reminded that NFM Lending is an equal housing lender, and my license number is 117266. If you're just tuning in, we were just introducing our special guest, and I'll go ahead and introduce everybody quickly again. We've got expert contributor here, Preston Sandlin with Home Inspection Carolina. and then guests Mike Perlosky with eXp Realty and Mike Troche with NFM Lending. And today we've got a super cool theme that we put together for our listeners and for anyone that listens to us later on our podcast or sees these links on reshairradio.com. But today we're going to be talking about 7 key considerations on how a first-time buyer can win in real estate. You know, we often have, I've had shows in the past, Mike, as we were planning for the show, you see, I want to do something a little different. Well, we talked about, 8 or 10 things you can do to sell your house. We've talked about things first-time buyers can do to be prepared to buy a home, but we've never really talked about a first-time buyer can actually win. They can grow their wealth and grow equity even as a first-timer, right? Absolutely. So I thought it was a really kind of a cool concept, and it really melded well with your talents, with you having all kinds of experience between renovating, investing, helping buyers, helping sellers. You've got such a great background to help people in doing this. So super cool topic. So let's jump into our key consideration number 1, which is work with the right realtor. So you.
Let me make this simple for you.
Okay, folks. The number is, what was that, Mike?
704-771-0130.
There you go. So there's thousands of realtors. I don't know if you shared that stat with us, but there's quite a few realtors to pick from. But what are some of the things that a listener or a client should consider when choosing a realtor?
Well, I mean, there's definitely a number of them, Chris. Availability, obviously. We've got a lot of great realtors in Charlotte. We really do. And obviously, with the market, how hot it is, people are very busy. So I guess the biggest thing right now is just availability.
Okay, cool.
I'm available all the time, by the way.
There you go. And then number 2 would be, you had mentioned at least I think you have to consider the overall experience of the realtor and have they worked in the trenches. And again, we're talking about how to win in real estate, and we're going to talk about some key things a little bit later as we move through. But someone being in the trenches, I mean, you've bought properties, sold properties, invested, rented, renovated, right? Evicted, did you say?
Yes.
Hopefully that means you weren't evicted, but it sounds like you've got, and you've been in mortgage underwriting and did short sales and foreclosure, all that kind of stuff.
I'm tired.
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot of stuff, man.
Overall experience, I think you've checked the box.
Yes.
Been in the trenches too. I mean, if you've been in there swinging the hammer, renovating properties, that gives you some advantage when you're showing homes to first-time buyers that may think, gosh, what can we earn and grow in terms of wealth and equity in this home over the next 3, 5, 7 years so that we can step up into that next home. So super cool. So,
well, can I add something there?
Yeah, please do.
I think that's really valuable because it's kind of like, I hate to say this, but if you go to a financial planner and, this kid's like 20 years old and I'm just like, how could you, or a fitness person that, is kind of out of shape. And I'm sort of like, I'm taking advice, but this guy's done it all. He's done the mortgage part of it. He's done the investing. He's done all the stuff that I'm wanting to do. So that to me gives him a lot of credibility.
Absolutely. All right. And one other element that we mentioned as we were sort of planning the show is a consideration for our listener is when you're choosing to work with the right realtor, you really should be working with someone that does it full time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and that goes back to availability.
Absolutely.
So, if you're looking at homes during the day, obviously someone has a full-time job, they're not going to be able to help.
Right. And sometimes I've seen where people will work with a family member that used to be a full-time realtor or kind of does it on the side, and they end up losing the bids because they can't go see the houses. You have to kind of be ready in certain communities and certain parts of town. If the house goes on the market at 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning, it's going to be under contract by the end of the day. And so if your realtor's working at some big bank and doing real estate in just evenings and weekends, you may have just lost your dream home.
Absolutely.
Well, and you're talking about a dream home here, which is probably the biggest investment in most people's lives. I mean, this is not a commodity item here. I mean, do you want... you want somebody who does this 24/7 and that knows what they're doing. We're not buying cookies from the neighborhood kid to help their band out. This is, this is not, we're not, I know you probably got a cousin who does real estate on the side and you'd like to help them out. But
pretty soon, I don't know, maybe Girl Scouts of America might be selling
we'll
homes
buy
too.
some Girl Scout cookies, but when it comes to the biggest investment of your life and where all your memories are going to be made with your family, I want a professional.
Right.
Sweet. All right, well, let's throw to bullet number 2 in terms of 7 key considerations on how a first-time buyer can win in real estate. Number 2 is finding a home in the right area. So share some thoughts on that.
Well, location, location, location.
There you go.
As everyone always says. If someone is looking, South Charlotte, obviously you have to have somebody in the right price point. If they want a fixer-upper, put them in an area where you can find the fixer-uppers and where the house is going to, hopefully appreciate. So you just want to put, and I want to put my clients, in the, in the right position to win.
Right, because I think if you're talking about winning in real estate here, this may mean the first-time buyer needs to look at something that may need a little TLC, maybe in a neighborhood that's up and coming,
Yep.
where people have put a lot of money in and the sales are supporting homes that have been renovated. If you try to renovate a house in a community where nothing's been done in any of the homes, you're not going to get the money back, right? So I think the person who's really going to win as a first-time buyer here is to listen to you and look for homes in the right communities.
Correct.
So perfect. All right, so let's roll to number 3, which is closely examine the comps, or what we call comparable sales. So first of all, talk about what a comparable sale is, and then maybe share how that works.
Comparable sale is just a house that it closely matches the house that you want to buy. So, for example,
A home that recently sold.
Absolutely, that recently sold, typically within the last pretty much couple months.
3 to
in
6
this market. Usually it's 6 months, but this market obviously is prices keep going up, so the timetable goes down a little bit. But you want to. So, for example, you have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. A comparable is not going to be a 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom house. So you want to try to find another 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with closest, the same square footage, building materials, things of those nature.
Perfect. And so we have to look closely at comparables, because you may be trying to find something that someone can kind of renovate and then gain some equity growth over time. What are some of the other considerations?
As far as renovations go?
Or just, related to these comps? What about the sales in the community in terms of, are you looking to see the spread between lower sales and higher sales? How do you determine what would be a good community to renovate in?
Like we talked about earlier, I mean, if we have a up and coming area, so if someone has, they have more of an appetite for risk, maybe they want to get into that area that's, it just is starting to be up and coming, and they can hold on to that property for a longer period of time. Or maybe they want to move into an established area and find a really good deal. Maybe there was a foreclosure, a short sale, or maybe an estate sale where the house wasn't, obviously couldn't be taken care of very well. So it really just depends on the client and what they want to do and where they want to be.
Right. And I think really at the end of the day, the other key element is if you're looking in the community and you're thinking about, well, let's get something renovated and help you grow that equity, that you've got to make sure that you can get something that's affordable, right?
Absolutely.
Because we've seen, and I'm just talking out loud now, I've seen even some cases where foreclosures are put on the market are pretty close to what regular sales are selling for.
Yes.
And then you've got multiple bids, and then somebody really ends up overpaying for a house that by the time they get it to standard, you've put more money in it than maybe what other homes are selling for that are already renovated. Right. So it's a tricky game. It's not as easy as you think, right?
Yep. And that's actually where Preston and his business could actually come in. If they come in and they see, hey, there's some issues with this house, and then if you have a foreclosure like that, then you could try to negotiate. So,
all right.
Yeah, you got to look at the full deal. I mean, sometimes there's a fixer-upper, but, is this fixer-upper with the repairs that need to be made plus your sweat equity and time going to be equivalent or better than one that's already set to go?
Or new construction or what have you.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. So we are still talking about the 7 key considerations here of how a first-time buyer can win in real estate. You're listening to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host. If there's anything you hear along the way, feel free to give me a text or a phone call at 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. All right, let's start out our next one. I'm not sure we'll get through it all, but the fourth consideration is really understanding where to get your biggest bang for your buck with renovations. So let's just say Mike's taking the time. You've chosen him as your realtor, as the right realtor. You started to area shop for location, and you've started to examine comparable sales, and now you're looking at a point where we found a house. How do you choose what to renovate? So, or maybe I should ask the question, what are the best things to renovate?
Obviously, kitchens and bathrooms are number one.
Where are you going to be in the house the most? The areas you got to spend the most time.
I mean, obviously, we want to make sure the house isn't going to fall over, so we have a strong foundation. The roof looks good. Got newer windows. Beyond all that, the kitchens and bathrooms are where the money is.
Yep.
What kinds of things do you typically see renovated in the kitchen?
Obviously, cabinets. Countertops, everyone loves their granite countertops or their marble countertops, depending on where you're at, in Charlotte.
Quartz, whatever.
Yeah.
It's different every couple of months, seems like.
Right, exactly.
And then the fixtures or the metal. I know brass was big back in the 80s, but now it's brass. I got to get I don't know, what is it, polished nickel or something.
Brass
now.
is coming back.
I know, if you
watch
hold on to
HGTV.
some, if you hold on. And barn doors, I'm like.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, man, we had the saloon things into the kitchen, and that was the coolest thing.
And they always
come in
squeak,
like
right?
gun smoke. Take them out.
What is it, Smells Diner?
Yeah.
Everything always comes back in style.
If you hold on to it long enough.
But no, flooring, obviously. People love stainless steel appliances, depending on, again, where you're at in Charlotte, maybe some higher end appliances, like Preston was saying, fixtures. The popular thing with the faucets these days are the touchless.
Or the touch screen TV built into the refrigerator door.
Yes,
refrigerator door.
Tell you when you're low on milk. So.
Exactly. It's kind of
I
crazy.
already got my wife calling me to stop at the grocery store. I don't need my refrigerator calling me too.
Yeah, exactly.
And pretty soon it'll probably send you a text, I imagine, if it doesn't already.
Or tell Amazon
Pick up
Prime.
your fridge.
Yeah.
Just
on
sends
your
you
way
a text.
home, could you pick up some milk?
That's
And,
right. So, really, at the end of the day, if we're looking at really key things to understand in terms of what to renovate, you've got your kitchens and baths, right? Really huge. Flooring can make a huge difference. And obviously, paint and general cleanup. Those are all things. But you'll have to balance that. Mike's going to basically take time with you and say, look, the 3 houses that have sold for top dollar, they all upgraded to granite or some sort of countertops, but they all have existing cabinets that were just repainted, right? Or, you can kind of get an idea of, let's not overdo it, right? But let's not underdo it. If we want top dollar, here's what the market will support based on the sales or comparables that we can see available.
It's always the market, isn't it? It's not what we want it to be or what we think it to be. It's what the market says.
It's true. Very true.
Yep. That's what an appraiser is going to say at the end of the day. So, all right. Well, we're going to have to wrap this segment up. We've got 2 more full segments. More we're going to talk about here. More to come on 7 key considerations on how a first-time buyer can win in real estate. So you're listening to Reshair Radio. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi, Chris Reshatar here with NFM Lending and host of Reshair Radio. If you are considering purchasing a home, you may wonder what your financing options are. We offer a variety of loan products to fit your situation, including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, and jumbo loans. Here in the Carolinas, some of the most common loans are FHA and USDA. FHA loans are popular in low-income and first-time buyers due to their less stringent requirements. They also have low down payment requirements and tend to have a lower credit score requirement as well. USDA loans also allow low and moderate income households to purchase homes in an eligible rural area. Home buyers who do not qualify for a conventional loan may be able to purchase a home with USDA. If you're looking for platinum level service and open communication throughout the process, call me, Chris Reshatar, at 704-277-4463. That is 704-277-4463. LO NMLS license number 117266. Corporate NMLS license number 2893. Go to nfmlending.com for licensing information, and you can apply online at themortgagegenius.com.
Hi, this is Preston Sandlin with Home Inspection Carolina. We do home inspections, termite inspections, radon testing, any of your inspection needs. One thing that we do a little different, we fix the small stuff instead of putting it on the report. So if you need a home inspection, termite inspection, radon testing, please give us a call. If it's a home inspection or a pre-inspection, 704-542-6575, or check out our website at homeinspectioncarolina.com.
Welcome back to Reshair Radio. Show host Chris Reshatar here, reporting with NFM Lending, and we're actually reporting out of the ESPN studio, 730 The Game. If you've just tuned in, we were talking here this morning, about the 7 key considerations on how a first-time buyer can win in real estate. We've got Preston Sandlin in the house from Home Inspection Carolinas, Mike Perlosky from EXP Realty, and Mike Troche from NFM Lending. We've been knocking out these considerations like choosing the right realtor, finding a home in the right area, location, examining comps, and even understanding where you're going to get your biggest bang for your buck in terms of renovating, in terms of considerations on how to win in real estate. But Mike, let's talk a minute about really the next bullet, which is understanding your finance options. You as a realtor, your particular process would be you work with a client because they usually call you first, and then what happens?
So I'll talk with the client, just, verify. Well, very first thing I do, verify if they are pre-approved.
Okay.
Which you guys come into. So I just want to make sure they're pre-approved. I don't want them to, waste their time, and,
In reality, yours too.
Yeah, mine too. Which obviously would get them frustrated if they're, they find something, get excited, then they find out they can't qualify for it. Nobody wants that to happen. So that's why we ask for that kind of thing. The next thing I would do, just find out what they're looking for. What neighborhoods you're looking for. What school districts do you want to be in? How many bedrooms and bathrooms you're looking for? Do you want a fixer-upper? Do you want move-in ready? Those types of things.
Perfect. So, and if they need the renovation financing, that's where Mike Troche probably would come in. So you typically would maybe hand the name off to Mike Troche if they haven't already been pre-approved, or even if they have. And Mike Troche, do you want to grab the mic for a quick sec here? Why don't we take a minute? What typically is the minimum requirement for a down payment if someone wants to purchase the home and renovate it at the same time?
Depends on the program. If it's an FHA, it will be 3.5% down, an FHA loan. If it's a conventional loan, it will be 3% down for the first-time homeowner. And those programs are not just for a house that's ready to buy. Those programs and those amounts are also for these homes that need renovations done also.
Exactly. So I know NFM offers 2 different programs or types of renovation loans. The first one is an FHA, like you said, requiring 3.5% down. The other one is a conventional loan. But what we're talking about, folks, is you could buy or purchase a home for $100,000. Mike helps you to find that house. Then we get a general contractor to provide a bid. Let's just call it $25,000. And so the lending institution, NFM Lending, and our team will help you. You add those 2 together, 100 plus 25,000 equals 125. And then your down payment requirement, depending on the program you chose, would be 3 or 3.5% of the total. So when you buy that home, you're not only just buying the home, but you're borrowing the money to renovate it all at the same time. The home closes, and then there's that money, that $25,000 is set aside in an escrow account to then turn around and pay the contractor to do the work. You don't renovate it until you own it. So all the renovations take place after you sign the paperwork. So it's a pretty cool thing. The conventional loan is called a home style.
Correct.
And the FHA loan, because we always have acronyms, is called a 203K. So there are different names for the programs, but it's really just an FHA renovation loan and a conventional renovation loan. So,
correct. And it's a great program, again, with the problem with the scarcity of inventory. You can find that diamond in the rough, and people don't realize that. Look past the fact that the home may not have been updated since the 70s. You can get in there and make the home the way you want it and finance that in there. It's a great tool that I think, more people should take advantage of if they're not. And, with someone like Mike as a realtor who understands that part of the business and that life of renovation, it's a great tool to have where you can find a customer that home that otherwise they wouldn't have even thought twice about looking into.
Yeah, it solves the but factor, right? So I like everything but.
There's
the
always a
house is
but.
amazing. Location is great. It's got the floor plan that I want, but it doesn't have that second bathroom that we really, really need, whatever
Those
it might
saloon
be.
doors.
And it'll be quicker than a new construction as well. So
Right,
and
exactly.
you get to pick out what you want to do.
And your house might not be squeezed right next to 6 others.
Absolutely.
And you might have mature trees. And, you know,
Right. So those are all good things, but really, it's important to understand that there are finance options for people that maybe have found a great home that just isn't quite what they're looking for, and the renovation loan could be a way to solve that problem. And really, I think in the end goes back to our theme, winning in real estate, because oftentimes when you do that, you're taking a house that's got some weaknesses for whatever reason. Maybe somebody kind of made a floor plan that wasn't that great, needs a little adjusting. But when you go to sell, now it's got that extra bedroom, that extra bathroom, that macked out kitchen, whatever it might be.
Right.
And it makes that home worth that much more in the end.
Instant equity.
Instant equity.
Instant equity.
Yep.
There you go.
That's the goal.
All right, let's go to number 6 out of the 7 considerations on how a first-time buyer can win in real estate. Number 6 is choose the right contractor. Mike, our realtor in the house, is going to share some thoughts on that.
Well, obviously, if someone goes with the 203K loan or the home renovation program, I believe, you have to go with a contractor
That's
is
correct.
approved through the program. So I'm sure you guys can touch on that. But besides that, obviously, you want someone who's licensed, bonded, and insured. Someone who's available right now. You don't want to find, maybe a contractor, but maybe they're not available for 2 months, 3 months.
I call it LBI, licensed, bonded, and insured, right? I mean, when something happens, which things happen. I mean, roofers fall off the roof on your property. Guess who they sue? You.
You.
Right. You didn't make them fall, but you're the one who owns the house, so you got to be careful.
Right. Obviously, someone like I just touched on who has experience with the renovation loan process, and obviously you want to get multiple bids. Usually people say 2 to 3 bids, and the cheapest isn't always the best. Right. So
Absolutely.
people need to keep that in mind.
No, I've seen that too before. I had and hopefully my client is not listening, but I did have a client who I'd given them 3 recommendations. I said, these 3 contractors have done renovations with us before. And I don't have a preference. I'm not even technically allowed to really push or guide anybody to a particular contractor. And he went with someone that was more like a handyman kind of deal. And he called me after he had closed, and it had been a number of months. The guy stopped coming. The siding was put on with the wrong nails. It was leading water into the back of the siding. The trim was never put up around the doors. Water was leaking into the house. There were gaps in like the sliding door to where the drywall wasn't even flush up to where the windows and the sliders had been put in. And it was going to cost like all kinds of money for arbitration. He ended up spending his own money renovating it himself. And the contractor got about 50% of the funds that he couldn't get back. Jeez. It turned out to be a major mess. And it was a lesson for me just to be reminding my clients that, look, the cheapest isn't always the best, right?
Check references, too.
Yeah, check references. I mean, it's just,
find out some other jobs.
Just like if you're hiring an employee, you really got to check it out. Yeah. Make sure that you're doing the right thing. So that is super important. All right, so choosing the right contractor was number 6. The 6th consideration. So let's go to the 7th consideration here. As we sort of wrap up, we've got a few minutes left in this segment. So in terms of if you're a first-time buyer, you want to win in real estate, we're helping you maybe how to consider properties, look at a way to buy a home uniquely, maybe renovate at the same time to get some extra equity or instant equity. But you said, Mike, that the buyer needs to understand tax ramifications. And what do you mean by that?
Absolutely. And just for full disclosure, I am not a tax professional.
Did you stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night?
I know we always have to say that.
We could use a good one to sponsor Reshair Radio, by the way, if anyone listening.
if you're out there and you're a tax.
But no, typically if you're in the house for, there's short-term and long-term gains. So if you're in the house for less than 2 years, it's going to be a short-term gain, and you're going to have to pay, I believe, whatever your tax rate is on the gain. If you're in the house for more than 2 years and it's your primary residence, you don't have to pay any tax, which is an amazing tool for people who are buying their first home, want to do some renovations, have some instant equity, later on, 2 years, 3 years, whatever down the line, you get all that money, when you sell, and then you could put into the next property if you'd like to.
Cool. Pretty straightforward. So we definitely want to have you encourage them to seek a counsel of a CPA.
Absolutely.
But these are things that you've got to think about, right? Because really,
Correct.
real estate is not just about getting the right house. It's also planning the exit strategy. And a good realtor like Mike is going to talk you through the resources that you need to go to and the things that we need to consider at the front end and on the back end, because he wants to be able to put that sign in the yard, sell it for top dollar, whether that's 2 years, 4 years, or 6 years down the road, and have you step in as a first-time buyer into that next home with a good chunk of equity.
Absolutely.
Without a lot of taxes, right? Hopefully.
Yes.
Hopefully that's the case. So that's the whole goal of Reshair Radio, is really to educate people through this process. So let me remind you that if you're listening and you hear anything that's of interest to you, you need to contact our guests and experts here in the studio. You can call me at 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. So real quick, Mike, we are going to sort of wrap up your segment here. You had mentioned that you have an incentive for anyone that may call that may need your services, whether it's buying or selling.
Correct.
What is your incentive you want to share with our listeners today?
My incentive, I'm a huge proponent of home warranties. So what I'll do for people is I'll offer them a free home warranty, when they close, just to protect them for that first year.
And that warranty really is going to say if something major fails, there's a policy there to protect, like a dishwasher or a garage door or whatever. Your out-of-pocket expense would be minimal.
Right.
And the coverage would cover most major damage, not all.
Can I add something?
Please do.
To that? I want to offer, if somebody buys or sells a home through Mike in the month of September, because we're like the last day of August, we'll do $50 off a home inspection if you buy or sell with Mike in the month of September.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Thank you, Preston.
Awesome. All right. Well, we've got one more segment with Preston. He's got a honey-do list. We're not going to call it the honey-do list, but we're going to call it the
Mike's list.
That's
what we're going to
Mike's
call it.
list. The fall maintenance checklist. So stay tuned. You can't wait to hear this, since we got mostly male listeners, right? Here's everything that you don't want to tell your wife about that you should be doing on your house this fall. So again, you're listening to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshatar. Stay tuned. We got one more segment. We'll be right back.
Hey, Chris Reshatar here with NFM Lending. Are you still sitting on a high interest rate mortgage loan? Are you thinking about consolidating, paying off some of those credit card debts, or maybe doing some home improvement? Now's the time to call, because interest rates are still at a 40-year low. My number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. I can also be found at themortgagegenius.com. Movement Mortgage is an equal housing lender, NMLS license number 117266.
Welcome back to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshatar, licensed loan officer with NFM, and we have been talking all kinds of great stuff here today in the studio with guests and expert contributors, but we're really going to focus our next segment really on with Preston Sandlin with Home Inspection Carolinas. Preston, you brought some great stuff for our listeners today. We've shared themes like this before in the past. You've been a great sponsor for the last several years. We're going to talk about a fall maintenance checklist, and I'm going to hand it over to you and tell us what this looks like.
Fall honey-do list.
Fall honey-do list.
Feels like
That's
summer
right.
out there.
Yeah. I know. We're getting that, I guess I can't say, Native American summer, I guess. Is that the right word?
I don't know.
I'm trying to be politically correct here. So anyway, the first one is ceiling fans. We all have those ceiling fans. We all love them. Not sure if you're aware of it, but during the different seasons, you have a reverse switch on that fan. It's usually on the side. It's just a little switch. You obviously don't want to. You want the fan to be off when you don't try to do it while it's on.
Reverse.
Yeah, like when I was in college and we would throw the tennis ball up, see who it would hit. That just bad.
We
But
don't advise of that.
yeah. But basically, in the summer, you want that fan blowing down, directly down, because it creates a sort of a wind chill effect that you want in the summer. You don't want that in the fall. A good way to think about this: you ever walk into a convenience store and they have that thing to keep flies, and it just completely flattens your hair?
Yes.
That's what you want in the summer. In the winter, you want to reverse it. You actually want it to pull up and push the air towards the ceiling, and it'll come back around. They've just done all kinds of air studies with blower doors and stuff, and it's much more efficient in the wintertime. It'll save on your heating bill. So make sure that the fan is pulling air up and pushing it towards the ceiling in the winter, or in the fall you want to switch it, and pushing down in the summer when it's hot.
Perfect. All right, let's go through the next one. What else should we be doing?
Well, let's talk about the HVAC, which is an acronym for heating, ventilating, and air conditioning. You want to make sure that it's checked by a professional before you turn it on. Because you're going to get one of these nights where it gets down to 40, and we're like, "Hey, honey, turn the heat on." And if you have, there's all kinds of heating systems. Predominantly in this area, we either have gas or heat pump. There are two. I would say the two of those probably make up 98% of the system. You have some boilers and some solar and stuff like that, but be aware that if you have a heat pump, it has heat strips in it, which is the equivalent of what's on your cooking stove. They basically come on to get it up to speed, and then once it's up to speed, they go off, and it costs a lot more money when those things are on. So that's when you have a heat pump, you don't want to radically turn your temperature up and down because those things will come on. But the reason I mention it, when you turn those on first time in the fall, you're going to get it might even cause your smoke detector to go off. Dust builds up on them over the summer, so you'll get a kind of a stinky smell. Should go away. Your smoke detector might go off. Yeah, if you get it after the third time you turn it on, you might need to get that checked out. But get a HVAC company to give you a little bit of a tune-up, make sure it's ready to go. So you don't. And when it's really cold, they're backed up. So it's a good time to get it checked out before it gets really cold.
Great. All right. So what's the next thing on our honey-do list we should be doing for the fall maintenance checklist?
Well, it kind of goes along with that. Furnace filters. Ideally, depending on what type of filter you have, there's all different kinds. And here's a little tip for you. Take a picture of all your filter sizes on your phone and keep that on your phone so that when you go to, Lowe's, Home Depot, or whatever, or Renfro's, wherever you go, Black Hawk Hardware, I don't want to, I love them all, but buy yourself filters ahead of time because they're a lot cheaper in bulk. You can get the hyperallergenic one, whatever. And what you'll learn about your house too, it's great if you could change it every 30 days, some are 90 days, but what you'll learn about a house is certain areas, certain filters get more dirtier than the others. Just like, having a car after a while, or maybe even being married a while, you kind of know what areas, and pick your, but I know in my house, there's it's where we live and do most of our cooking. That one gets the dirtiest. I probably have to change that one twice as much as the one up in the rec room, which really doesn't get that dirty at all. So I would say every 30 to 60, 90 days, depending on the filter, change those filters, but make sure you have plenty of filters in your garage or wherever you store them.
Great. Simple.
You want to move on to water heater?
Perfect.
Yeah, water heater. You can prolong the life of your water heater by basically flushing it out. What happens, and again, two types of water heaters we have here mostly is gas and electric, but they both develop sediment in the bottom of the tank. And over time, it'll age them a little faster than they need to be. So if you look down at the bottom of your water heater, there's basically like a faucet. It's just like a hose spigot. And if you turn that on, but hold on, don't turn it on yet. What you want to do is run a hose with a washer to make sure it's completely connected. If it's in the garage, you're golden. It's a little bit trickier when you get up into the attic or somewhere like that. In a garage, you could just hook that hose up and run it out, your driveway. Basically, you're going to turn it on, and when you first turn it on, that water is going to be a little dirty because it's going to be the sediment water. Just run it till it turns clean, turn it off, and make sure you turn this thing off. And, pretty tight, not so tight that you can't ever get it off again. But now if you're in the attic or somewhere like that over a living space, you're going to have to bring a 5-gallon bucket and don't trust that catch pan. There's usually a catch pan. I never understood why there's a 5, maybe even 3-gallon catch pan for a 40-gallon water tank. Never made a lot of sense to me. But anyway, same thing. Just run it into the bucket until the sediment is cleared out, and you're good to go. And you're going to make your water heater last longer, and your bill, whether it be gas or electric, is going to be less.
Perfect.
I do have a question with that because I had heard that if you have a water heater where you haven't done that in the past, that by doing it could actually mess it up. Is that true, or is that kind of just a folklore fallacy kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm not
I don't do
aware
it
of
twice
that.
a year, and I'm wondering, should I start doing it now, or
Yeah.
is it kind of like,
It's all the rust at the bottom keeping it together.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I don't think that's going to cause any damage if it's not damaged already. Now, having said this, in our checklist that I brought in, it says do it two or three times a year. I'm a home inspector. I've done it 4 times, and I've been in my house 10 years. So,
How about tankless, Preston?
I love tankless. Tankless is, it costs a little bit more on the front end. The great thing about tankless is you're not having to heat, 40, 50 gallons of water and have it at the ready. Not to mention, the other thing is, like where we used to live, my master bedroom is up in the opposite corner of where my garage is of the house, 2-story house. So, when you turn on the water, it takes forever. I get this complaint all the time. I turn on the water and it doesn't get hot for like 4 minutes. And I'm like, okay, let's look at this. Your water heater is here for that hot water to travel all the way up there. I mean, it's not like electricity. I mean, it takes a little time. Now you can do a recirculating pump and, have it at the go all the time, but then that costs money. I mean, is it that important? Or you could have a tankless where it's on demand and you're not heating water unnecessarily. Now, when they first came out, I was a little bit con on them. I'm pro now. And the reason being they have a lot more moving parts inside, and they were a little bit difficult and broke down a lot early on. But now the technology's come a long way. The plumbers have gotten a lot better with it. It's a lot better product than it was, in my mind, 10 years ago.
Yeah, I get some questions about them once in a while, and, I don't know enough about them to give a good answer. So.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously costs a lot more installation
right.
than a traditional one. But, and again, it goes to planning with you guys. Is this your forever house? Are you going to be here 7-8 years? I would do it. But, if you're pretty sure you're going to get a job transfer in 2 years, unless you can resell it for more,
right.
Is it worth – are you going to get the payoff, I guess?
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Perfect. Well, let's jump in. Let's mention a few things on the outdoor. We got about 3 minutes left in the show, Preston.
Sure. A couple of things. Gutters, obviously, in the fall.
Yep.
We all know what that means. Leaves are going to fall. And maybe that's why they named it that. I don't know. But I never thought about that. Random thoughts. But, you got to get those gutters cleaned out because, obviously what's going to happen, you're going to get rain and it's not going to be able to go down the downspouts and it's going to overflow your gutter, or worse, it's going to overflow the backside, which is going to rot out your rake board and your fascia and soffit. And that's bad. You don't want that at all. The bad thing about cleaning gutters are there's a lot of people that's been injured cleaning gutters. I mean, getting up on a ladder and, cleaning those things. And like you alluded to earlier, Chris, I mean, even if you hire somebody, or do you have insurance? Because you're doing something that, you could get hurt on. I don't want you to sue me. Here's what I recommend. Get yourself a backpack blower. They're going to be $350, $400, but they are worth it. And you can look this up on Amazon or Husqvarna or one of those places, or the Echo, and you can buy the attachments. The reason I said backpack blower because they're very powerful, and you're going to need that. And you can hook up these multiple pipes that curl around. So basically, you can stand on the ground and just blow out your I love it. You can blow out the gutters. It's going to make a mess, but you're not very likely to break your neck.
or maybe have a friend that has one. Are you using yours this weekend, Preston?
Maybe,
because it sounds like I want to try it first.
Preston will run it out too.
Yeah. You probably want to wear an old hat though, because those wet, nasty leaves go everywhere. But again, you're not going to fall off your roof doing this.
All right, you probably have time for one more real quick.
Okay, let's go with outdoor furniture. We have outdoor furniture. The one thing is these cushions and stuff. Now it's like a lot of this outdoor furniture looks like indoor furniture, and I love it. But I learned the hard way, if you don't put those cushions away, next summer when you go to sit on them, they're just going to rip right up. So, and this outdoor furniture, depending on where you get it, it's kind of pricey. So I recommend you get some covers. If you can take all those pillows and outdoor pillows and all, if you have a place in your garage or somewhere where you can store them where the temperature is a little bit more regulated, there's no.
And they sell those big bins too for pretty cheap these days, and you pop them in there and you're in good shape. You
just want to keep obviously they take a lot of weather beating in the summer, but in the winter you don't want that ice and all that stuff because you're going to have to replace them a lot sooner, and it's not cheap. So I would recommend putting the cushions away somewhere where the temperature or you're away from ice, and then cover the framework part of your outdoor furniture with a cover.
Sweet.
Awesome.
So Preston's always got great information. Again, if you have any needs at all, you're thinking about buying or selling, please use Home Inspection Carolina. Preston and his team, they will take great care of you. He always brings great information for our show, and appreciate his sponsorship.
And if you need any advice on those honey-do lists, call Mike Troche. He's going to be, his wife's going to put him to work.
You'll have a lot of experience coming up.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is if he falls off his gutters, he's got a pool to land in, right?
I don't have any cushions anymore.
Awesome. Well, it's been a great show, guys. Thanks for everyone for joining us. And we'll be back again next Sunday, 10 o'clock on ESPN The Game. You're again listening to Reshair Radio. Thank you very much and have a great week.
You've been listening to Reshair with Chris Reshatar, a seasoned licensed mortgage consultant, originator license number 117266.